our oldest tree at Camp Carter, and this tree is 450 years old. And you can see her, she's holding hands, that's Grandfather Oak. They're holding hands up there.
Where is it?
Oh, right here.
Yep.
Oh, right here. No, right here.
Be quiet. Be quiet.
Alright, so, does anyone know how we tell the age of a tree?
Cut down these lines.
Right, so you can cut the tree down and then count the rings on the inside to figure out how old it is. But what if we don't want to cut this tree down? How would we find out how old it is?
The lines.
How tall it is?
Sometimes, maybe how
We
tall
measure
is.
it.
Yep.
We measure
To measure it, like do the circumference like you guys did earlier.
How many?
They do want you holding hands.
What they actually do is they take this thing called a core. So they take something and they make a little hole right in there and then drill out a tiny piece of it, and then they look at the rings on that piece to see how old the tree is. So that's how they know that this tree, Grandmother Oak, is 450 years old. What?
The bodies.
Alright, so do you guys want to hear the story behind this tree?
Yeah.
Behind the tree?
Huh?
Be quiet, man. Be quiet.
It's just a phrase. So, does anybody know what a legend is, first of all?
Yeah. Something all, like
Somebody who used to do something but they stopped. And everybody still
something in the past. Something in the past.
Not that kind of legend, but that's funny. A legend is actually a type of story, and legends are types of stories that
Based
might
on-
be true, but they might not be true. So you have to kind of use your own scientific knowledge to decide whether or not you think the story is true based on the evidence. So I'm going to tell you a legend about this story right here, and it's about a little boy named Little Johnny. So you guys are about 10 years old, right?
Yeah.
10,
Yeah.
11. Little Johnny was just about your age. And so, does anyone know who owned this land before Raymond Carter bought it and gave it to Camp Carter? Not Old Man Tucker.
Oh, my Jacob?
Way back before anyone else was on this land.
Michael Jackson.
Right, Indians, Native Americans. So, this story starts way back
Maybe
in the
I can't
time
call
of
it.
the Native Americans. So, how did Native Americans get their food?
Trees.
They just go to the grocery store?
No, they had plant their own tree.
Right, Native Americans hunted animals, or they would also kind of gather fruits and vegetables sometimes, but they also mainly hunted animals. So, one day there was a little boy named Little Johnny, and he went out with his family to go hunting for some deer, because his family really liked to eat deer. So they went hunting for deer all in this area, and they used some of those bows and arrows like you guys used earlier to hunt their deer. Huh? Yep. So what they did, they went out hunting, but the thing about Little Johnny was that he really did not like animals getting hurt. He just did not want to see them get hurt ever. So what he did was, when he was out hunting with his family, every time his family would get really close to a deer, he would cough or scream or stomp his feet and make a really loud noise so that the deer would get scared away. And he did this every single time because he didn't want to see the deer get hurt. Now, his family wasn't trying to be mean to the deer. They weren't trying to be mean when they hurt them, but they needed to eat too. So that's why they needed to catch the deer. But Little Johnny did not want them to do that. So one day his family was getting so fed up with Little Johnny just screaming and making so much noise, scaring all the deer away, that they tied him to this tree right here and left him alone to go hunting for their meal. So they went on a really, really long deer chase. They chased the deer all the way through this land, all the way kind of by the river over there, all the way by the hills back where we were earlier. They chased them all around, and they had a huge feast because they caught so many deer since Little Johnny wasn't scaring them all away. So after they were done with their feast, they thought, okay, well, we should go get Little Johnny now, because they didn't want to leave him tied to the tree. So they walked back in the direction that they thought the tree was in and looked for Little Johnny. But they quickly realized, there's a lot of trees out here, right?
Yes.
They quickly realized they had gone so far on their chase that they couldn't remember how to get back to the tree where they tied Little Johnny. So they looked around, they searched for him all day and all night, but they just could not find where they had left him. So eventually they just had to give up because they couldn't remember where they left him, and it was getting dark out and they just couldn't look for him anymore. So his family left, and Little Johnny was stuck tied to this tree right here.
He couldn't get out?
He was tied really tightly. He could get out.
He was
Alright,
built
so
into the tree.
That, many years later, after the Native Americans came, Amon G. Carter bought this land and then gave it to Camp Carter. And then we're here today. And one day, some scientists came out and they took a core from this tree because they thought this tree was pretty big and impressive and they wanted to know how old the tree was. So they came and they took a little core from this tree. So they drilled right in that hole right there and pulled out the core. But they found something very funny. Instead of bark, like they were expecting, they pulled out and they found white powder. What do you think the white powder was?
The dust.
The bones decompose.
The legend goes that the white powder was little Johnny's bones because they left him tied to the tree for so long that the tree grew over him.
That's why.
And that's why this huge hump is right here. So, the legend goes that little Johnny's body is still stuck in this tree, and if you want, you can come and listen and see if you can hear his heartbeat or his breathing.
So he's still alive?
I don't know, it's a legend, so you have to figure out for yourself whether or not you think it's true.
Is this
Can anyone hear it?
They're gonna break it down because
They didn't want to cut the tree down because it's a pretty big tree.
Can we try drilling?
Well, we don't have a drill with us
Which
today,
one's a
so I'm going to
grandpa?
say no. What?
this was a.
That one's grandfather oak, this is grandmother oak.
Why did he call the grandmother? A boy died in there.
I don't know.
What, over there?
Does anyone hear it?